marriage still worth it?
There's a difference, there's a distinction between wedding and marriage. Before you talk about getting married, you must have a sense of responsibility. You need to also have the leading of God.
Gueze Pastor Clare Onyegbu has been a pastor for 14 years and counting, with a passion for the women ministry. A seasoned administrator for 35 years and currently CEO of Royal Hire Consulting. She's blessed with 4 adult children and many grandchildren.
You do not separate yourself from healthy friends after marriage. There are certain lessons that you can only get by shared experiences. One important factor in that early stage is to understand that you are an individual and your husband is an individual as well. Don't lose your identity and don't ask him to lose his own identity either.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to another episode. If you're new here, welcome, welcome, welcome. I know we have new members of the tribe. So hi guys, my name is Victoria. And for the next few minutes, I like to say, think of me as your best friend here to help you comprehend life issues. And on this channel, all we do is to bring you value that can help you fulfill your purpose here on earth. So if you'd love to do that, please quickly and kindly subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification bell so that you'll be notified every single time we release a new video. So I know you've seen the highlights of this video and you're excited and you want to hear the gist. Hey, but the guest we have today is someone very, 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 very special to my heart. So apart from everything you heard, she's also my mom. Hi.
Hi guys. Hi everybody.
Hi. So we have my mom here today, and really I wanted to bring her on here just because of the level of value she has poured into me over the years and other women. So she has sacrificed her entire life into serving other people in different capacities and just giving absolute value. So when I thought about this topic, I was like, who's the better guest that we can have than her? All right, so without further ado, let's just get into today's topic. And I really want to encourage you. I know that it might be a long video, but you know, value doesn't have any price, and this is absolutely free. So whatever you need to do to help you get this value, if you need to drop your phone and cook and drive and attend to your kids, or just take care of business, any other thing, just do what you have to do to get through this video, and I'm sure that you will get absolute value from this. All right? Okay, so today we're talking about something that I feel is very important for every young person, and primarily because my audience is mostly women, primarily every young woman now. And that's just because the topic surrounding the institution of marriage is something that is so messed up these days. Like, we have different versions. We're seeing people, celebrities that we felt had absolutely beautiful marriages going through tough times. We're seeing breakups. We're seeing a high rate. Statistics is showing that divorce is on one of the highest it has ever been. And you know, the question I think, and I know that is in a lot of young people's mind right now, is marriage still worth it? Is the institution of marriage worth investing in this time and age? So I really want us to break this down in different aspects. So we're going to be going into it bit by bit. But I want you to first tell me, with your experience, your knowledge with counseling women, young, families and all of that, what would you consider marriage? What is really marriage? And is it still worth it, right now?
All right. So first of all, thank you for having me. Thank you.
I'm honored.
I am honored. I am honored. Thank you. Yeah. It's an amazing outfit you have here.
Thank you.
I know that God will really bless you and bless others, your audience, your tribe that are
Amen.
here on YouTube. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
So what is marriage? Marriage, simply put, is a union, an agreement between a man and a woman to live together for the rest of their lives. Okay, it can be on a legal platform, it could be on a Christian platform, it could be on a Muslim platform, or even on a local traditional platform as we have it in Africa. And the question, is it worth it? Yes, it's worth it when it's well done.
Right. All right, so marriage is worth it when it's well done. So if it's really as worth it as you're saying right now, why is it under so much attack right now? Why are we seeing marriages breaking up?
Okay, there are so many reasons why we see marriages disintegrating in our time. You have the influence of social media, other cultures that are coming into the institution of marriage, different concepts of what is real and what is not real. If I want to expand that a bit, it's like if you are watching a film, a romantic film, or even what they call them, rom-coms, romantic comedies and all that. So sometimes you have a picture, and actually what it is somebody's imagination. Maybe there's one or two itsy-bitsy truths about it, then they color it and what will be pleasing to the viewers and all that, and they put it together, you view it and you think it's real.
The fairy tale thing.
Fairy tale life. And if you are imagining that to be real and you bring it into the real world, what happens? It won't work. So if it's not working, you now think of, what is it? Is it me? Is it him? Is that? But it's just that you have superimposed an untruth and a lie, a fantasy over a truth, a reality. That is one. Secondly, you can have this issue of people coming from different backgrounds, totally different backgrounds, totally different perceptions of life, totally different understanding on what constitutes happiness, what constitutes marriage, what constitutes the union of people coming together, or a man and a woman coming together. For example, a young man from a polygamous background and then a young woman from a monogamous background. The reality of that young woman from the monogamous background is far different from that of the young man coming from a polygamous background. And until the issues are ironed out, until the differences are really addressed, you will have conflicts within your marriage because the expectations will be different. And thirdly, we won't rule out the fact that the kingdom of God suffered violence and the violent take it by force. The devil himself is not happy when he sees good things happening. And so there may be some cases where a marriage will suffer attack just because the devil wants to prove that he doesn't like anything good. But of course, in that situation, you can be sure that God will always come out on top and you will win.
Wow, yeah. I think I can truly understand where you're coming from. So you've mentioned influence, you've mentioned coming from different backgrounds, and you also mentioned the spiritual warfare that is really prevalent right now. So let's go back to the fairy tale situation of where, we have that picture in our heads, because like you said, it's almost like that Nollywood effect of, looking at marriage from this fantasy perspective. And that's where I think a lot of us struggle, because we have failed to differentiate between even a wedding and a marriage. So some of us are actually preparing for the wedding day. So when you say, oh, how would you imagine your marriage to be? In our heads, what we're really thinking of is, how will your wedding be? Hey, I'm going to scatter that day. I will wear this, I will wear that. But then you just realize it's a one-day event. And then after that day, you are in the marriage for the rest of your life. So for someone out there who is preparing for marriage and is trying to differentiate between these two scenarios, like a wedding and a marriage, and asking herself or himself, how can I prepare myself for marriage? What would be your advice?
Okay, you've hit the nail on the head. Yes, truly, there's a difference, there's a distinction between wedding and marriage. The wedding is the ceremony. Everything, the pop, the pageantry, the food, the drinks, the people coming, the people going,
The souvenirs.
the dresses, the souvenirs, everything. It's all about the wedding, the ceremony. All right? And remember, the wedding is costly. There's a cost in the wedding. And after you spend, you're going to have the marriage. And the marriage is where you're looking for an income. Let me give you a funny story. I attended a wedding once, and you know, in the process of a wedding, you have the groom dancing in, you have the bride dancing in, you have both of them dancing together, you have the parents of the bride dancing together, and suddenly I observed that the groom was dancing up to 5 times. You know, every so often he'll come up and he'll dance and dance and dance, and then the MC will say, "Oh, come and spray him, come and spray him, come." And I turned to my neighbor who said, "What's going on? How long is this ceremony? Why is he dancing so often?" And the person whispered to me that the groom was trying to raise money through the wedding, through the ceremony.
Yeah.
All right? Because, of course, in the back of his mind, this is more like an investment, and he's looking for a return on his investment. Because at the end of the ceremony, when the guests
Bills
are
have
gone,
to be paid.
bills have to be paid, the photographer has to be paid, the caterer has to be paid, and all of that. So, for you guys out there that are planning, plan your wedding different, plan your marriage separately, because the day after the wedding, that night, your marriage starts.
That night. Yeah. So what are the key things that you think they should put into consideration when preparing themselves for that day? For the marriage itself.
Okay, for the marriage. Okay, there are a lot of things to consider. Since this platform is scriptural based, let me take an example. If you're talking about preparing for marriage, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, in verse 33, Paul is talking to every one of us, and he says, "But a married man has to think about his earthly responsibilities and how to please his wife." Now, where am I taking this to? Before you talk about getting married, you must have a sense of responsibility. If that sense of responsibility is in you, as a young man, as a young woman, it's a trigger for you to know that, yes, you are ready for marriage. Now, that sense of responsibility is actually gearing you as a young man to say, I feel responsible for this young lady. I can take care of her. If that sense of responsibility is not there, please just hang on. She's your pal. She's your colleague. She's not your bedmate.
She's your bestie.
Okay? She's your bestie, whatever. All right? And also, the sense of responsibility will also come upon the young woman, in which, just as Paul is also saying in verse 34, that she would look to how to please her husband. That sense of responsibility will come upon you, and you will know that, yes, you are ready for marriage. However, the challenge we have these days is that the young woman will have a sense of responsibility. She will want to cook for him. She will want to clean for him. She will want to, do whatever he likes to make him, what? Happy, just like Paul said. But not knowing whether the young man is also ready. So they now put the cart before the horse. She leaves her father's house, goes to the young man's house, and starts cooking, start cleaning, start caring for him. And he doesn't have any sense of responsibility, any burden of responsibility towards her. So she is exhibiting her readiness, but he is like, whoa, let's hang on a bit. So the problem now comes when, if for whatever circumstances, because she's all out there in his face, if a baby comes, they now say, okay, we just have to get married. He's not ready. And then he moves into the marriage. And what happens? Conflicts, problems, blame shifting. all these issues that terrorize marriages of today. So first of all, you have that sense of responsibility as a signal that it is time to think about marriage. Talk about what? Marriage.
So sorry, you're saying that really for men and even for women, when you're ready, you would know. There's no way to push somebody into being ready.
No, you can't push somebody into getting ready. You can cajole them, you can trick them, you can coerce them into marriage, but they're still not ready, and they know they're not ready. It's just like arranged marriages for young women. All right? The young lady might be thinking her career. She might be thinking about, let me get my head straight. Who am I? What am I? She might be going through an identity crisis. But mom and dad said, look, you have to leave my house. You know, she might not be ready. But she may eventually get married, go through the ceremony of the wedding, get married. And she's still trying to get her act together.
Wow.
You know, it happens. It happens.
So is there any like emotional preparation that comes into also being married, like trying to get married?
Yeah, there are emotional aspects, there are physical aspects, and still in that chapter 7 that I read, where is it? Verse 36. It's talking about the emotional aspects. It said that if a man thinks that he treats his fiancée improperly and will inevitably give in to his passions, I'm reading from NLT, let him marry her as he wishes. It's not a sin. So what we're talking about here is that physical attraction.
Okay.
All right? The young man knows that he's physically attracted to this young woman. And if he's true to himself, he also knows that she's probably not safe around him. They shouldn't be alone in the room. Real. So he gets the signal, and he also knows that he doesn't feel like this for any other girl. He doesn't feel like this for any other woman, just her. So because he feels this, Paul is saying, get yourself ready and get married. It's not a sin. All right? And the same thing with the woman. We have the understanding, because the world today, there's a lot of information out there. Whatever you want to know, you think you need to know, there are all good and bad information out there. We know that men are said to be more visual than women. And we also know that women are more prone to what they hear. They feel through what they hear. You can tell a woman 10 times a day, I love you. Just those words, I love you, 10 times a day, and she's all warm and fuzzy inside. You may not mean it. You may not mean it, but you have tuned her, you have conditioned her to be receptive to your advances. And that is part of the problems that enter into marriage today. A lot of people have understood how humanity works, and then uses those working mechanisms to get themselves into relationships. And of course, when you're tired, you expose yourself, and then the deed is done, marriage has been consummated, and you feel stuck. So these are issues that need to be considered. So thirdly, you need to also have the leading of God. Let the Lord lead you. Don't think about all your emotions or the physical attractions as much as how is God leading you? Where is God leading you? What is God saying to you? And when you are fully persuaded and you are really in tune with what God is saying, you will surely make a good decision at the right time to the right person.
So I like how you've broken it down. We've talked about being physically ready and how everybody knows when they're ready, right? And then we've talked about being emotionally ready too, so that you're not also in a place where you're being misled or being used, or right? Being used, or then people using their emotions against you, or you using your emotions against other people. And then we've also talked about the spiritual readiness of getting into marriage. So I think that's wholesome enough to just know that there's so many factors outside of just saying I'm of age to get married, it's time for me to get married. You need to really consider these things. Another angle I'd like us to tackle with regards to being ready for marriage is like, let's assume now that somebody's just hearing this for the first time. So you're already in the institution of marriage.
Okay.
Maybe you've not had a baby yet, maybe you have babies or one baby yet. How do you really navigate that season of your life to find balance and happiness and, just enjoying your marriage in that season? Because I know that it can get overwhelming. Even based on personal experience, I think the very first year of marriage was like, ooh, like I was all woozy, like, is this it? So how do you really get into that place of being ready in the marriage? Like, you're already in the marriage, but like putting your act together and really thriving in that relationship.
Okay. One of the key qualities of a successful marriage is that you had a support system that led you to the marriage. Support system in the sense that you came from a family. You had sponsors for your wedding. You had a community of people that came to witness the occasion. And in every healthy structure, just like in one of your clips, you talked about friendships, building friends. You do not separate yourself from healthy friends after marriage. And the reason is, there are certain experiences that people older than you in marriage have gone through that you will just encounter. And there is no manual. Mark it, there's no manual, there's no handbook of how to be a perfect husband, how to be a perfect wife. I've not seen it in the market. All right? So there are certain lessons that you can only get by shared experiences, by asking questions. I remember after I've had all my children, I had, the journey in life. Life happens to everybody. Questions arise, and from season to season, our experiences shape us. And as they shape us, we begin to behave in certain ways that are different from when we started in the previous season. I had an experience where my husband had a certain way of behaving that was strange to me after so many years of marriage. We were more than 10 years in marriage. And I asked myself, because one important factor in that early stage is to understand that you are an individual and your husband is an individual as well. Don't lose your identity, and don't ask him to lose his own identity either. But in love and in caring, share, communicate, ask questions, ask yourselves questions, ask those who raised your spouse questions. I went to my mother-in-law and asked her, why is he behaving in this way? And she gave me the answer. I said, oh, that's how the father used to behave. Do you understand? And it was a kind of an eye-opener for me to understand him better, that this is a background issue. Because one thing that many young couples miss the mark at is whenever a habit or a character is exhibited by their spouse, they think it's them. My husband talks loudly, it's probably me. My wife is always nagging, it's probably me. It may not be you. It could be from their background. It could be from their understanding of a certain reality. This is how things should be done. Or a young man growing up and said, this is how my father behaved, and because it worked out well with him, I'm going to do it that way. It may not be you, young lady. It may not be you, my daughter. It's just what he understands to be true. And with that understanding, you are able to, understand the situation, relate with him, and then step away. If he needs to mature and see things differently, you can step aside and let him see those things without the stress, without the conflict, without the antagonism that is usually exhibited in life. Because of course, if you think that you're at fault, there are two options. Either you back down, you shut down, you no longer communicate, or you become aggressive, trying to force the person to understand you. And neither option is good. Communication. Hey honey, what's up with you? Are you okay? Is this, you need space? You need to understand something? What's going on? Let him talk. Your husband also should let you talk.
Okay, so that's super, super amazing. I think it's very, very important that even in the institution of marriage, you know who you are as a person, and it's also very important that we communicate, because I think that's a major issue in marriages now, communication. I remember when I just got married, I think one of the greatest challenges I had was that I used to assume that my husband should understand what is going on in my head. So if I see something wrong, I'm like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then at some point I'm like, haven't you noticed this already, or stuff like that. But you know, and the funny thing about it is that most times it's how, you know, confused they are about it. Like, are you serious? Was this really a big deal? And you've been all worked up about that situation over and over. So I think communication is important, and also not keeping things for a long time. If anything is affecting you at any point, it's just best to say it at that time. Like, trash out issues early so that they don't become like serious, you know.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
yes. So what is, if you were to give one advice, just one advice to a single person trying to get into marriage, what would it be?
A single person getting into marriage, I would say, love yourself. Understand yourself. Because scripture tells us that we should love our neighbor as ourselves.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to love yourself, it's going to be quite difficult to love somebody else. So you need to love yourself. Know yourself, know your likes, know your strengths, know your weaknesses. You can even do a SWOT analysis on yourself. And then you can be in a better position to love other people.
So SWOT analysis, your strengths, your weaknesses,
the opportunities available to you, and the threats.
Yeah.
The threats, the things you don't like, that will really rub you the wrong way, so that when you see it, you avoid it.
I think it goes back to when we were discussing about, you know, what you feel people should prepare for before getting into marriage. It's so important that you get to know who you are. I think the greatest failure right now with, you know, marriage, well, I wouldn't call it the greatest failure, but one of the major things affecting marriages is that people are entering into marriages hoping to find completion. But like, your single season is a time for you to be complete in yourself. So imagine if we had two complete people coming together. That would be such a force. But now when you have like two broken people coming together looking for, it's you that's supposed to heal me now, it's you that's supposed to heal me, that's where you now find issues, because like, hurt people only hurt people. You need to find healing within yourself to be able to even receive the kind of love that you really deserve.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, this concept of completion is a Nollywood, Bollywood, Hollywood issue. It was never like that before. A film comes up and say, you complete me, and boom, it goes viral.
Right.
And people think that it's true.
Societal conditioning.
So that's where it starts off on the wrong footing. And if truly you know yourself and you understand yourself, you know what makes you happy.
That's right.
All right? And people, even if we're in the pursuit of happiness, all right, people want something to make us happy, you will know that it will be very wrong for you to put the weight of your happiness on somebody else.
Very true.
Happiness has to come from within. That satisfaction of knowing who you are, knowing where you're going, knowing how you will get there, and you know who is going with you along the way, which is God Himself that created you for purpose.
Exactly.
All right. So if, just like you have said, if two people who are whole and integral in themselves through God as individuals, because singles can do amazing things.
Amazing things. Amazing things.
Then what not to talk of what Amos says, when two walk together, how can they walk together except they what? Agree. And a two people coming together, one shall chase 1,000 and two shall chase what? 10,000. Right. The force is mighty and the devil knows it. So don't let the devil use you. All right? Know yourself. Get yourself engraved in the knowledge of what God has purposed for you as an individual. And then He will show you who your companion will be, who that second person will be that will drive those 10,000 demons away.
Right. I think I just wish that every single out there, I know that marriage is a beautiful thing. I don't care what it's being projected right now. People have beautiful marriages. Your marriage will be beautiful. It's something that whatever you focus on is what you attract. So if you focus on the fact that people are saying, oh, marriage is bad, marriage is horrible, this and that, most likely you're going to get into that situation. Or even if you're not typically in that situation, you're going to start imagining that your case is the worst case scenario, because you've conditioned your mind to believe that, okay, marriage is bad. My marriage cannot work. So I think your mindset too is very, very important. How are you thinking about these things? What are you dwelling on? And you have to be really, really, really careful about the kind of information that you're consuming about this next season of your life. So if you're going more towards the volatile area, or the harsh area, or the toxic area, you're going to keep projecting those things into your relationship. So every small situation, you're going to escalate it into something that is extremely big. So focus on what you really want to, get and achieve from your relationship, and that will be your reality. And secondly, what's one very important advice that you would give somebody already, a young woman that is trying to navigate motherhood, career, life, marriage, and just live her best life?
Okay, for that young woman, you're already in marriage, you've started, and you're on the journey. Trust God, trust yourself. One advice: trust God, trust yourself. Because with God, all things are what? Possible. So stay strong, stay strong. You got this.
Very simple. Trust God and trust yourself. The trust that you have in yourself is coming from the knowledge of who has sent you and whom has you. I'm trying to get the right English to put it. But when you have the backing,
to whom you belong,
to whom you belong,
has you.
That's right. So like when you understand, the backing that you have, when you understand that God is with me, the Bible says God is in her, she will not fail. When that is your confession,
your reality,
you start to understand that, okay, if God has sent me into this marriage, it is for a purpose, it is for a reason, and that reason will be accomplished.
Absolutely.
Despite anything the devil, throws your way. Those seasons are challenging, we can't even deny that fact. Motherhood is a beautiful moment, and it comes with its challenges. Marriage on its own, you're marrying somebody and then you're trying to understand, you're trying to navigate the different backgrounds and all of that. But through that season, if God is your anchor, like I always like to say, it's usually more comforting. You have a soft landing, knowing that no matter how high I fall, my back cannot touch the ground.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't want this episode to be extremely long. Okay. I know there's so many angles that we can come in from. I know that people have so many questions. Maybe as she was talking, you have questions that are burning in your heart and you're saying, oh, she didn't touch this as much as I wanted her to, let us know in the comments. She'll be in the comments, and maybe we can even have a part 2 and something like that. Hope she'll give me time.
Absolutely, no problem.
So, but
I love to be here.
let's just know your questions in the comments, your contributions. You know, you could share things that people would find helpful. Also, I'll leave a link to a Google form down below in the description. If you have more personal questions that you're not comfortable with sharing, feel free to send them there and we will reply. So thank you so much for watching. I would recommend you watch these other videos because you'll find them extremely helpful. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.
Bye.